Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Doom Scrolling. I'm your host, Cal. I will be today. We're going to be talking a little bit about Canada becoming the 51st state. Now, this is something that is pretty close to home. I live in Canada, and I personally, I think it would be amazing um, because you've probably seen this on various um, podcasts and news outlets. I've heard the president say it that Canada doesn't import a lot of stuff from the states, and that is true, primarily because the Canadian dollar, is so weak that buying anything from the states is very expensive. Always has been. For example, if you go to your bookshelf, pull out any uh, soft cover book, you'll see two prices, the US price and the Canadian price. And so, say a book is $10 in the US, it's like 15 or 16 bucks here in Canada. And that's been the way it has. We're just picking on books, but that's been the way it has, especially for books, for decades. Prices have gone up exponentially in that regard. So it was $6 back in the 90s or whatever. It was in the States. It was $10 here in Canada, and that's just the price of doing business for if you want to buy stuff here in Canada, especially if it comes from the States. It's just expensive, and it's only gotten worse over the last 10 years thanks to Justin Trudeau. Now, an economic union would be fine for Canada. That would be okay. Problem is, it wouldn't help everybody. It would only help the people in power. Now, why do I say that? Because of particularly for a province like Alberta. Alberta is uh, the Texas of Canada. You go to Texas, what do you think? Barbecues, cattle ranchers, oil barons. That's pretty much Alberta in a nutshell, and has been for generations. If you were to have an economic union, um, and Alberta was able to produce and sell the product, whatever it might be, the there's a little known thing. It's very well known here in Canada, but very little known to our American counterparts. It's called equalization payments. Been going on for 40 years, I believe. I don't remember the exact date, but a long freaking time. Now, the equalization payments is exactly what it sounds like. You are paying for. So how it works is Alberta produces $500 billion in revenue generated by oil and gas, natural gas, cattle ranching, whatever it is. A bunch of really strong industries are here in Alberta, which is where I live. And those all that $500 billion, there's equalization payments, which takes a portion of it and funnels it off to provinces, welfare provinces like Quebec, like Ontario, like Nova Scotia, or what have you, and gives them billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, to subsidize their lack of industry, right? Quebec itself is little more than a welfare state. They have some industry, maple syrup and car parts, and I think auto manufacturing, I guess. There are other things, but there's no um, big industries, right? Like Manitoba has uh, minerals and mines and stuff, but given Justin Trudeau and his absolute loathing of anything to do with prosperity, um, and I'm not being hyperbolic about that, like anything and everything that could possibly benefit Canada long term, economically, um, he has systematically destroyed or killed. Uh, Case in point, people down in the States, you've heard of the Keystone XL pipeline. Okay, that's a pipeline that just goes basically from Alberta through Saskatchewan and down through North and South Dakota, right? But that's just to move product from Alberta oil sands to market in places in the States for refining and whatnot. Now, there is an east west corridor that they wanted to do from Alberta. It's called the Energy East, literally pumping Alberta oil to eastern provinces for, again, refining. We have refineries out in eastern provinces that could refine this stuff. We just don't have a way to get down there easily. If you look at a pipeline map, it would have to go down through Alberta, through like South Dakota, all the way to Texas, and then back up the eastern seaboard through Michigan and again into Ontario. And that's like there might be a somewhat shorter route, but that's basically how it would have to go. So getting it from Alberta to Ontario or Manitoba or wherever the refineries happen to be is not very easy. So there was this idea years ago, hey, let's have this east-west corridor pipeline, East Energy East pipeline. Take it from Alberta, pump it to the places in eastern Canada, so you guys can have your oil. It'd be all Canadian made and all that other stuff. Justin Trudeau and his cronies said absolutely not. To this day, that all these Trump tariffs and all of these things that are being put in place, again, they talked about a pipeline being moved for moving oil. Uh, the uh, the province of Quebec said absolutely not. Forget you. We're not letting this pipeline come through. Why? Because they don't want Alberta oil, right? They don't want. They would rather suffer and not have Alberta oil or anything like that. They'd rather import their oil from Saudi Arabia, from I don't know, you name the communist country or whatever. They'd rather import it from anywhere else in the entire world other than except for Alberta. They don't want Alberta oil and never have, right? They want our money, but they don't want our oil. So they killed the Energy East pipeline. So we're like, okay, well, how about we pump this over to British Columbia? British Columbia is like right next door to Alberta. It's got nice western property and nice western access to places in Asia. Okay, let's build a pipeline and pump our oil over there. Nope, forget it. Screw you, can't do it. Right? And to say Albertans were upset about that would be a massive understatement because we are a landlocked, super, well, not superpower, but super productive province that can't get our product to market unless it's to the States, which brings up this 51st state talk, and excuse me, to uh, to have Canada become the 51st state would be absolutely amazing. I would argue to have the individual provinces become states for a number of reasons. I think it would be less confusing. Um, there's arguments for it, but the the economic impact for people, primarily in Alberta, would be huge. We wouldn't have to subsidize places in Eastern Canada that can't support themselves, right? We would have, we'd be able to do so much for the people here in this province. I think our economy would absolutely explode. Um, Premier Smith has said many times that she wants to have the population in Alberta double. Well, that's great, but we can't really do that effectively without an economy that isn't hamstrung. She's doing really good, and our economy is still growing, but it's still really difficult with all of the oppressive policies and woke ideology coming out of Ottawa. We just can't prosper as much. So for Canada in general to become the 51st state would be great, militarily, economically, uh, freedoms. We would have a guaranteed uh, freedom of speech. Yeah, it's crazy. Uh, I am fully for this. Absolutely want Canada in general to become the 51st state. If not Canada, Alberta specifically to become the 51st state, followed by the British Columbia and Saskatchewan. I want those guys to become 52nd and 53rd respectively. Um, that would be cool. That would be really really cool. It would the like I said, as somebody who lives in Alberta, I fully support this. Absolutely want this. Every poll I've ever seen regarding this all says, yeah, like there's poll after poll after poll, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people voting on this poll. Absolutely. Everybody says yes, both Canadian and American. Both are for this. So I would love to join. If it comes to a referendum, absolutely, I will be voting for it. Um, do I the do I feel like a traitor for doing that? No, not in the slightest. Um, Canada has abandoned Canadians. The government has abandoned Canadians. It is absolutely apparent. You look at policy after policy after policy, scandals, uh, economic slavery, basically, is hamstrung at every turn you can imagine. Um, there's so many online censorship bills and online things that we just it's just very hard. Like I think my taxes, my last job I actually had, I made a good chunk of money. I saw like 30% of that. Most of it was taxes and stuff like that. How can you live like that? Anyway, so do I support Canada becoming the 51st state? Yes, I do. I look forward to the day. Absolutely, I do. And the fact that all 13 premiers of all 13 provinces went to Washington yesterday to meet with the uh, Trump administration, I really hope that those premiers listened, right? And I hope they realize that, yeah, Trump's serious. And our Canadian brothers and sisters are all serious too. We're done with Trudeau. We're done with this crap. We're done with the communist tendencies that liberal leaders are trying to foist on us. All of them are WEF puppets. Uh, there's talk that they'd rather join the European Union than join the US. That's you think we're oppressed now? Gosh, you have no idea. Uh, no, European Union, fuck you. Anyway, that's all I got.